Good morning and welcome to MOTH News Live. I'm Keith Walsh. Beside me is Oscar Virdee. Good morning, Oscar.
Good morning,
Keith. How are
Keith.
you this morning?
Fabulous. And yourself?
Good, excellent. I've just out the other side of a 3-week detox. I'm feeling really shitty.
Nice. What did you detox from?
Well, it's a gut cleanse thing.
Oh,
so
God.
I stopped eating stuff and I started drinking sludge.
That's not good.
You're telling me. It is Friday, November 7th. Are you on a sludge detox? We'd love to hear from you. Do get involved, as always. Coming up, a Kilkenny legend jailed for fraud. What the DJ Carey case tells us about how Ireland punishes financial crime. I mean, Oscar, you won't know this, but DJ Carey in Ireland was like the Messi of a game called hurling. It's only really played in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game played 15 versus 15. Kind of looks like a cross between fighting and football.
And lacrosse as well.
And lacrosse.
Yeah,
excellent. Shinty. Have you come across Shinty? You were in Scotland for a while?
No. But I've seen clips of the Irish one. I can't remember the name.
So DJ Carey was the greatest hurler of all time.
Was he a DJ as well?
He wasn't actually a DJ, funnily enough. But he just, I don't know what happened to him in his life. He just became a massive fraudster. He frauded people out of money for his cancer treatment, even though he didn't have cancer. He got money from people sometimes in the regions of 120,000, 200,000, and now he's been I'll tell you exactly what's happened to him. But it's just like if you could imagine Ronaldo or Messi just becoming a guy who just goes around and tries to get like 20 grand off his friend because he's dying, even though he's not dying.
It's a bit despicable.
It's very, very despicable. The Sunday Business Post say Ireland needs to foster more risk-taking, but who's really taking the risks? Is it the founders or the financiers? I think we know the answer to that. And later, really disturbing questions about the safety of children in state care. First, here's the news in brief. Former Kilkenny hurler DJ Carey has been sentenced to 5.5 years in prison for deceiving multiple people out of money by falsely claiming he needed treatment for cancer. It's one of the harshest sentences for personal fraud in recent years, and it's drawn comparisons. Well, we've drawn comparisons with Ireland's banking scandals, where many executives walked free. The pattern seems to be clear to us. Personal deception with direct victims draws heavier punishment than systematic financial misconduct. And I will be chatting to Al about this a little bit later on. Hunger strike outside the Dáil. The survivors of Ireland's industrial schools have begun a hunger strike. Well, they began a hunger strike a couple of, let me say, how many weeks in 47 days, Oscar? Quick. About a month and a half, I'd say. They're on their 48th day of a hunger strike. How long can you be on a hunger strike for?
I don't know.
It's getting scary. I'm getting worried for them. They've been on hunger strike. They're outside the Leinster House. They're demanding basic rights that have long been promised, and actually they're entitled to, according to law, a medical card, a certain type of medical card, and a pension from the child labour they performed in church and state institutions. So when they were in these institutions working for the state and for the religious organisations, they worked. They washed sheets for wealthy people and they scrubbed floors, and and they never got paid for it. Now they're looking for the reparations. Campaigners say they're entitled to both under existing law, but that the government continues to delay implementation. Many of the strikers are elderly. Earlier this week, I spoke to survivor Miriam Moriarty Owens about her experience in the care of the Sisters of Mercy. This clip contains references to physical violence and torture, so that's a bit of a warning if you want to switch off. For the clip will be 4 minutes long. It's quite rough to watch.
Then the other crude, I just have to give it the most. Nobody would believe that I was with my sister Anya, and I think some sewing machine was broken, and she says he did it. 1061 and 1060. Get up to bed, and I'll be up in a minute. I mean, the both of us were on each side in each bed in St. Bridget's dormitory, and she told us to take our clothes off and lie down, like face down, tied us with twine, to the bars of the bed, both legs, and like the shape of a cross. When one nun started counting, and the nun started beating 1 to 100. And the more you screamed, so I learned very quickly, if I don't say it would stop. I had to go back, and that was it. We went back downstairs. It was in the evening, and naturally my sister Joan was distraught at seeing me and Anya, and I had to watch her, and she had to watch me being beaten. That was another one. I think the one that hurts me the most is the day I made my Holy Communion. I had not met my mom, right? I had not met my mom. I didn't even know what a mom was, because she constantly told us that we weren't loved and that she didn't want us. But anyway, I did. So on the night of the morning of my first Holy Communion, my mum gave my sister Breda a prayer book, a rosary piece, and a medal. And it was in the morning. I was coming down the stairs, and Joan had dressed me, and it was tiny now, like, and no mirrors. Only the mirror was like up to the ceiling, and Joan had to kind of lift me up, and she did my hair with pillowcase rags. She tore them up, and she made my hair curly. And she says, "You're my princess now, and you're going to be lovely today," because something drastic happened to my own sister Anya when she made hers, which I can't even talk about. And she's gone to God. So she gave me my prayer, and you know what? I had a lovely morning. I went over to the church, made my first Holy Communion with another girl, my friend, and made my Holy Communion, came back, and we four of us had something to eat together, which was, to me, was very special. That was okay. I had a lovely day, but that just lasted for a day. And then a few weeks later, I said to one of the girls, "My hair is longer than yours," because my hair used to grow very fast. I didn't grow, but the hair grew. And she went down and told the nun, who was one of her pets, that I said that my hair was longer than hers. She came up, she called me down and to Our Lady's room, and she put a bowl on my head and she cut my hair. Then she says, "I want you to go upstairs, and I want you to bring down the medal and the rosaries and the prayer book." Now, my mom had signed this, "Have a lovely day. I love you. Miriam." She came down and she took them off me, and she burnt them. She burnt them. I said, why did you do that?" And if you answer back, I said, "They're the only things that I have that my mom gave me, just to prove that she did think of me, but she was sick."
Miriam and her sisters ended up in that industrial school because her mother got TB, and the courts decided to gave them criminal charges. Miriam was a baby, and I'm not sure how many crimes a baby can commit, but Miriam still is still a criminal according to the Irish courts. She still can't figure out what the crime was, but basically, I presume the state needed the child labour at the time, so they just gave her a baby, got her locked up on trumped up charges, and she's still looking for justice. It's absolutely harrowing. The protest continues outside the Dáil today, and you can watch that video in full on our YouTube channel. Just go to it's MOTH _ I should know this stuff off by heart, shouldn't I? You'll see it there at the bottom there. MOTH _ news, all caps. There you go. Right. Very briefly, there has been a big arrest in the world of crime. Mr. Big has been arrested. Terrible nickname. Sure, there's other Mr. Big. There was a rock band in the 90s called Mr. Big. One of Ireland's most notorious organised crime figures, known as Mr. Big, has been arrested in Dublin as part of an ongoing Garda crackdown on drug trafficking and money laundering. The man in his late 40s was detained by the Gardaí. Sources say the arrest is linked to an investigation into major cross-border operation involving firearms and encrypted communication networks. This man's supposed to be very, very clever. Right. I mean, that's it for me. Oscar, how are you today?
I was good, and then that interview, and now less good.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? I mean,
It's-
these. I'm not sure if if there's similar stories. I'm sure there are similar stories in Britain, in England, but we were particularly hard on our children in Ireland. There was the children's rights really only were brought in the 70s. You know, up until then, you could pretty much do whatever you wanted to them. But it was a very class thing, so it depends on which class you came from. If you were vulnerable, if your mother got TB and was in hospital, you might be taken away and put to work in the industrial schools for no money. These are the guys on hunger strike. If you're anywhere around the Dáil, go and shake their hands and give them your support. 48 days on hunger strike so far, and I really hope they get justice. So, over to you, Oscar.
Okay, so sorry. In the Sudan, some kind of good news. The RSF has agreed to a US proposal for a humanitarian ceasefire, but Sudan has still been torn apart by a civil war that has killed thousands, displaced millions, and devastated entire regions like Darfur. But this is not just a fight between two generals, it's a war shaped by foreign powers. And one of those foreign powers actually has admitted that they helped it happen or should have intervened earlier. And that foreign power in question is the UAE. So a bit of background on the conflict first. The Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, also known as the RSF, the guys have just agreed to the ceasefire, were once allies. In 2021, they jointly led a coup that overthrew Sudan's transitional government. That move collapsed a fragile democratic process and set the stage for all-out war. This week, the UAE publicly acknowledged it was a mistake to not act sooner. According to The Guardian, Anwar Gargash, the UAE's senior diplomatic envoy, told a conference in Bahrain that the international community had failed to take a strong stance when the coup took place. He said the generals should have been sanctioned at this time and admitted that the world powers avoided calling it a coup altogether. But for many observers, that acknowledgement comes far too late. The RSF, which was evolved from the Janjaweed militias responsible for atrocities in Darfur during the early 2000s, has been accused of mass killings and war crimes in recent months. As Human Rights Watch reports, in El Fasher alone, there is evidence of widespread execution, sexual violence, and forced displacement. And the RSF has not acted alone. According to investigations by Le Monde Afrique, the UAE has been a key backer of the RSF, allegedly supplying weapons and logistical support through the neighboring Chad. Emirati aircraft were tracked landing at key airfields, and arms are believed to have reached RSF units via regional proxies. The UAE denies these allegations, but independent research by Center for International Policy also points to extensive material support. The RSF's funding has also come from Sudan's gold reserves. Reporting by Middle East Eye shows how the RSF controls significant gold mining operations, with gold flowing out of Sudan through networks linked to Gulf states and Russian firms. These profits are believed to be helping sustain conflict on the RSF side. And the RSF is the guys going in massacring individuals in hospitals.
So they would be the guys responsible for killing everybody at a hospital a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you reckon? I mean, it's one thing that people don't talk about. I'll let you get back to it in a minute. Is like these guys are definitely going to be on drugs, right?
Most likely, if you want to point to like historical similarities, when the Nazis were going around massacring people, they would often be prescribed various drugs to keep them going.
They'll be taking crystal meth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, what they the whole reason, well, one of the reasons for the creation of concentration camps in the beginning was that massacring children, like some quotes show them like Nazis throwing children up in the air and then shooting them with shotguns, breaks somebody's psyche, because we're not meant to do that as humans.
Right.
So
to kill them, they had to put them in a chamber so no one could watch, and then they die, and then okay. But I think the thing is that when we look at these terrible atrocities, one man on another, we now historically we look back and go, oh, everybody was on drugs. So Hitler gave everybody crystal meth.
Yeah, speed to keep them going.
And made them do things that they wouldn't normally do. maybe get excited about things they wouldn't normally get excited about. Obviously, causing a lot of trauma down the line for everybody involved. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Hitler. You know, the German. You got to feel sorry for the German army and all. Like the soldiers are the ones that are doing the killing. They're killing. You know, if you look at the Tutsis and the Hutus, a lot of the time it was neighbor killing neighbor. You know.
It is neighbor killing labor, but I think
I can guarantee you these people are on drugs, and I just don't. I think for me, it gives a different. I think about it differently when I realize, oh, these are like it's not just somebody being handed a gun and told go into that hospital and kill everybody.
there's still a choice that the person handed the gun could say no.
Absolutely, but you know who
And
pays your wages, and if you're addicted to drugs, who's your dealer? You know, the janitor or whatever, and he's giving you the drugs, and then do you know what I mean? It's just I think that if you when you factor in drugs, it just you can almost go, okay, it's not just a normal person not off their face on drugs doing this. Do you know what I mean? The other thing about this, why it's interesting, is Manchester City, the football club, obviously are closely linked to the UAE because the owner, Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, to give him his full name. He must be Irish. Very difficult to pronounce. Sheikh Mansour is what he's referred to. So he is the current vice president and deputy prime minister of the United Arab Emirates, and also the owner of Manchester City Football Club. So a lot of people are saying, you know, if you're a supporter of Manchester City Football Club, you should probably be calling on your owners to behave better.
yeah, and sanction violence as well. Maybe boycott the games. There's a lot that we can do.
Does it seem like maybe the UAE didn't quite know? I mean, I'm laughing about this, but it almost makes it easier for me to understand that maybe they didn't quite know what they were getting into, and they're like, "Oh shit,
I think
this is really bad."
I think maybe, but I think there's also historical precedent for this kind of foreign policy failure. If we look at the 1980s, the United States fund the Mujahideen in Afghanistan to counter Soviet Union. Like, okay, that's where they're fighting a foreign power. In this place, you've got two internal powers in a civil war.
The Mujahideen, who's then turned into the Taliban, and turned on and went with Russia, sided with Russia, and turned on the US.
Yeah, but I think we just there is this thing with foreign powers with large amounts of wealth that they think they can control smaller countries by choosing a side, and more often than not, that side that they choose is inherently violent.
Okay, next story.
Yeah. So, where are we? On
see, I interrupted you and ruin your flow. Carry on.
On Halloween night, a fire broke out inside an iPass center on Georgia Street in Drogheda. 28 people were inside at the time, including children, parents, and babies, living in state-provided accommodation while seeking protection in Ireland. So I'm just going to play a clip first. So that is filmed from a. I need to click back on this one.
Here you go. Here.
There we are. Sorry. So that clip comes. It's not been confirmed by Garda, but it's understood to be part of the investigation. Interestingly, the stairwell where the fire took place was inside a locked keypad, so somebody had to be given a code to gain access to that building. So Garda say the fire was started deliberately, and residents told journalists they had seen fireworks thrown at the building earlier that night. Earlier reporting had suggested that it was a fire started by people cooking inside, but that was just false reporting as far as I can tell. One parent speaking to the Irish Independent described smoke flooding the corridors where they had their baby trapped upstairs. Footage that was posted by Thomas Brancard, which I've just shown, as you can see, quite clearly shows somebody lighting the fire inside a stairwell. Garda have not officially confirmed the source, but two men in their 20s have been arrested under Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Act. Reporting by the Dundalk Democrat confirms they are being held for questioning in connection with the fire.
I mean, I came across this. I'm going to bring Al in a second, but I came across this headline. You came across this headline. Two held over Drogheda iPass Centre attack are linked to Boylan organised crime group. The arrested males who are associated with the Boylan organised crime group, allegedly headed by two brothers, Keith and Josh Boylan, have been described as low-level drug dealers in the town. So, I mean, you know, you'd wonder why a drug gang would be interested. But, like, I presume they're there. the problem is, and I know I'll have something to say on this. This is a community who have an issue with what's going on at this iPass center, and we've covered it. Like it comes back to the owners.
Do you think Ireland's current startup
it
ecosystem
comes back to the owners? It comes back to how it's been run. It comes back to how the women and children inside are being treated themselves. These people who are seeking asylum, and it's messy, and the government just aren't helping in any way. And you've got a community who are protesting, and then you've got people like these, dangerous, possibly criminals, trying to burn the place down, which is not what most of the protesters want to do. But the government won't engage with them. They won't have a conversation with them. So they're sort of left with no choice other than to protest. And then you're going to get this rogue element trying to burn the place down, which is this is not what people want. They want to protest, they want to get answers, and they want to do it by peaceful means. Al, how are you?
Hey guys.
We've no sound for you at the moment.
Oh.
I can't hear him. No. Oh, okay. Can you hear him?
1 2.
Just is there a channel down or
1 2 1 2?
We can't. You can hear Al, can you?
Al, can you hear us?
No, it's just we can't hear him. No. We don't know why we can't. We're not getting the feed here.
I don't think he's speaking yet.
1 2 1 2.
No, I got nothing.
1 2 1 2. Hey guys.
We've silenced him. We've silenced you on purpose, Al. We don't want to hear what you have to say about this. We don't want people coming on here.
Can you hear me?
Is there a fader there, or we're having some technical difficulties? We'll come back to you in a sec, Al. What's the next story?
So the next story is some kind of good news. Zoran Mamdani is now mayor-elect of New York City, a win being celebrated by the American left and criticized heavily by Republicans, including Donald Trump. But what do New Yorkers actually have to say? So I spoke with a guy called Robert Sussman, a 68-year-old lifelong Manhattan resident, to try and get a feel for what this moment feels like on the ground.
My name is Bob Sussman. I am 68 years old and live in New York City. I've lived in Manhattan for 55 years now, and before that in one of the suburbs outside of New York City.
What does the mood feel to you among New Yorkers following Mamdani's victory? Does it feel like a wider political shift?
Yeah, it really does, but there is more than I've seen in the past, a real wide spectrum of people very excited, people very disappointed, people kind of in the middle. Well, I didn't really vote for Mamdani, but let's see what happens. And I'm kind of in that third middle category.
Governor Abbott from Texas has proposed taxing or fining New Yorkers who move to Texas, quoting 100% tariffs for them. Do you think that reaction to the proposal is appropriate? And what kind of message do you feel like it sends to a wider American audience?
Yeah, no one knows what that means. What does that mean? 100% tariffs on New Yorkers who move to Texas? Do you have to show your last electrical bill to somebody when you move in? And how is that going to work? So nobody really understands how that's going to work. Even if it was something that Abbott could do, it seems like the rest of the Republican Party, everything that they do, it seems that they are petty and it's the word I'm looking for. Everything's about retribution and about getting even, and it's just incredibly annoying. The bottom line is nobody from New York City wants to move to Texas. So good luck.
Can you just tell me what it makes you feel as a New Yorker, seeing where you have Trump calling Mamdani's win a sign that radical socialists are taking over our cities? Do you feel like that's the case, being somebody that lives in New York?
I don't. I think that if he wants to blame somebody, he should blame himself. I'm referring to Trump. It is all of the vitriol and just antagonism against blue states that he has created that, in my opinion, is one of the major reasons for basically this wide reversal, not just in New York City, but in New Jersey and in Virginia as well, and Pennsylvania. So I think that he should, he's living in a glass house, and he shouldn't throw stones. And pretty soon it'll be a much bigger glass house with big glass windows on his beautiful ballroom.
If you've got any criticisms of Madami going into this, like, how do you feel personally about him now being mayor-elect? And what do you think of his policies surrounding rent freezes, free buses, and city-run grocery stores? Do you think that's doable?
I don't think that's doable at all. And I think it's empty promises. So I think that that's one of the reasons why I did not vote for him. The other reason was, it's always, being mayor of New York City is often described as being the second most difficult job in America, the first being president of the United States. And, he can be a brilliant guy, but he's 34 years old. He just doesn't have the life experiences that that a person running for mayor should have. That's why I held my nose and voted for Andrew Cuomo. I think he's a despicable character, but of the three people running, I felt that he was the best capable of the most capable of the three to run a complicated city like New York. I think that there is a very positive mood on the streets as a result of the election, and a lot of hope, even for people who didn't vote for Mamdani. There's a lot of hope that he can do good. But my first thought was Trump's going to eat him alive. But we've all got our fingers crossed and hoping for a positive 4 years, starting January 1st.
There you go. Very level-headed man. He didn't actually vote for him because he didn't think it was possible, and he voted for somebody who he thought would actually do the job well, which I think is a very good interview.
Thank you.
Good interview. I like that. Good balanced interview. Well, a couple of things for you, Al. Now that we can hear you, you're
1, 2.
Yeah, we got a couple of things. 1 and 2. 1, 2.
The gremlin muted me again, huh?
Well, they just don't want you talking. It's the system. A couple of things, because you spent a lot of time in America. We might ask you about New York, and also just go back to the iPass Center situation. So, I mean, there's a massive gray area with this. I mean, look, nobody should be burning a building down with anybody inside it. End of. Criminals, any criminal, no matter where they come from, if they come from Drogheda, if they've moved here recently, should feel the full force of the courts and the law. There is a feeling, though, that maybe there's a bit of a state cover-up, and maybe the state are happy. There's possibly stories about trafficking going on. The state are happy not to maybe publish or talk about crimes that are going on. That are being committed by people who are here looking for asylum or otherwise, people who've recently moved here. So this seems to be there's massive conflict being caused, and you've spoken about it before, because what I think the establishment are doing is they're pitting two people, the two sides of an argument against each other, and we're not focusing on the government. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, I think it's very important to frame this correctly, which is, I do not condone any act of violence towards anybody. It's a load of bullshit. And the guys that did that are wankers, right? And that's it. And they're not representing anybody but trying to create fucking anarchy and hurt people. And that's it. And I've said that from the start. I said there should be no political view should infringe on anybody's safety. And that's it. End of story. And I think we've lost the plot in terms of, there's no in the middle anymore. It's kind of you're one side or the other side, and that gives you an entitlement to hurt somebody. So it's just unacceptable, right? And it's making everybody feel unsafe in Ireland, which was never the case. The other part that I have to make, Keith, is that in all of the legacy media coverage in MSM, right, they seem to be kind of zoning in on the kind of, you're either on one side or the other side in terms of asylum seekers and IPAS centers. But like in reality, Ireland has generally always been very open to helping people, regardless of any background, any situation. We were always known as a nation that would help. Okay. So this isn't the new phenomenon where there's people coming into the country seeking asylum or, escaping from some kind of, some environment that is unsafe.
There's
This
a
is
lot of
not
tales.
new,
I'll tell
right?
people there's a lot of tales if you look back in the history books in Belfast of Irish people, Protestant and Catholics, coming together to help slaves escape from ships when they docked in Belfast. So I mean, there is no. I don't really think there's a history of a racial element here in this country.
Correct. And it's been created now, which is the problem. And that is the problem. And then the contra to that argument is you do have people that are abusing it. They're abusing the process by, they're infiltrating, they're coming in on the back of a process that's being created to help people in need. And they are also equally aggravators, and they are conducting, heinous acts against people in Ireland, like hate crime is up, physical attacks on women is up, a story of a 10-year-old child being raped and picked up and brought into a centre and raped. Protests kick off from that, and continually what's happening is the tagline for all that's happening right now is hate. It's everybody's. We're all hating on each other in Ireland.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not about being even Irish anymore. We're essentially losing our identity in this kind of grotesque attitude towards color of skin. Where have you come from? Where are you living? Are you right? Are you left? Are you fucking black? Are you white? That's it. Like we're in a religious war here, whether people want to realize it or not or admit it. And
what does that mean, though?
There's no win. There's nobody going to win here.
What does a religious war mean, though? Because I'm not religious, but
yeah,
I would have a view. I would have a view on it, and I would have I would agree on a lot of what you're saying, but I don't know about what the religious war is.
So basically, people are being pigeonholed into religion. All right. Okay. So you're either in one camp or the other camp.
Muslim or Catholic or yeah.
That's it. And then you're being tarred and tagged with that, and that's it. So that I'm all you have to do, Keith, is look at the protests. You've a march on one side, a march on the other side, and that's it. And that's what's happening on a global basis.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would feel like it's lack of communication by the government. They've created a vacuum. I know we've spoken about it before. They've created this vacuum where there's a vacuum of information. There's too much gray area. There's not enough transparency, and it helps if you've got essentially the bulk of the people who are coming here to Ireland legitimately looking for asylum, right? And the people whose communities they're moving into. These people should all be on the same side, and they should all be looking and pointing towards their government and our government and the people who run the world and saying, you're not doing the right thing by us. Because a lot of these people are escaping persecution in their own countries. A lot of that comes from imperialism, colonialism. So they're trying to find somewhere safe. If we take the majority of them looking for legitimate asylum, the working class people and the people from lower socioeconomic areas in Ireland aren't getting fair treatment. They're not being given the resources they need. They're not being given the education they need. They're not being given they're finding it very difficult to survive, and they're being pitted against each other, whereas they should, in my view, be joining forces and asking for better.
See, in my opinion, that's even not entirely correct in terms of accuracy, because it's not just even the low income anymore, Keith. It's actually even people that are in a situation where a couple of years ago they would have been considered on the high end of earnings, right? Like we're not even like that's not even correct, because that's the government's PR bullshit again, right? Okay. There's people that have a number of children, 2 people working. They can't afford childcare, and they cannot afford to buy a house, or they cannot afford to live at a normal standard of living, which then brings in a vacuum. But that's kind of the ongoing debate, right? But the other side of it is, when you have a society that does not have the pillars of what's called democracy or a developed country in place, which is a high standard of healthcare available to look after its citizens, right? Okay. A process in place where people can have the fundamentals, which is they can afford to purchase their own home. Okay. They can get access to, lending and credit to be able to purchase, items of, let's call it, it's not even luxuries, that would be seen as necessities. Okay. Right. And then the last thing is you need a government that listens to the people in terms of there is friction created when people feel that they don't even have an opportunity to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got a judicial system, which we'll cover in a minute, that is completely out of whack and out of balance, right? There is no logic to it. And, it all kind of, transcends from the lack of leadership, which we've spoken to, right? And the leadership is from top down, identifying, okay, what is political? What is a politician? A politician is supposed to be a public representative appointed by the people, regardless of who voted for them, should be representing the people on all sides. But they just don't seem to want to negotiate or bring in any kind of mediation. I mean, if we were running a company today and you had 10 employees and 5 were on one side and 5 were on the other side, and they continually were in a battle of different views, different opinions, it's the responsibilities on the leader to bring them into some kind of mediation or arbitration to say, guys, we got to work together. Let's figure this out. What is the medium here? What is the happy medium to bring some kind of resolution to the dismay and the discernment on both sides?
Is the answer then we just need to have stricter policies around asylum seekers? Because we know, like, the problem for me is, like, I'm very much, I'll be honest with you, I'm very much like, just let everybody come and live here. I don't think borders are very helpful, but that's just my own personal opinion.
We'll just keep let's tease that out. We had a presidential campaign. We had a presidential campaign that was a load of bullshit, right? You had spoil the vote. People are saying, I'm going to spoil my vote. The candidates put forward were not they built a process in that prevented candidates that people wanted to vote for by not being able to get on the polling cards, right? That's a democracy breach.
It's in the Constitution. Right? It's in the Constitution. Right? It's built into the Constitution. We need a constitutional change, which some politicians have tried to change over the years, and it just hasn't been changed.
But the Constitution. I mean, but you can articulate that if you send out a memo.
But it is democratic. I'm just saying it is democratic because it's in our Constitution. But it could change. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, but democratic isn't reaching out to all of the councillors in the country and saying do not allow that person to get on the polls. That's not democracy, Keith. No. That's manipulating the process, right? Let's be very fair. And it's like, you don't allow them get on the polling card. That's it. So that's an abuse of a constitutional right. You can articulate it in any other way, right?
I also heard of a journalist who got like 100 texts from a Fine Gael politician in one morning about a certain candidate, like, bombarding journalists. Ivan Yates talking about like how they should, like, take somebody down. I don't care if you support or don't support Catherine or whatever. Like, all these dirty tactics going on. And
that's one individual who's conflicted because he was advising one of the candidates. You can't deal on an isolated incident, but what you can speak to, if we're being balanced here, is a demonstrative amount of people for a record amount of people spoiled their votes, right? Okay. And that's a fact. That's not hypothetical. That is a fact.
But right? What you've ended up with is 2 votes against the current government. So Catherine Connolly and the spoiled vote, they're both voting against the current regime.
That's hypothetical, because you could argue the point that that's also their candidate, and we're getting into dodgy territory here, right? But if you tease about what you just mentioned about the economic migrants, that the people that are moving into Ireland for economic reasons, right? And I think what we need to look at is the statistics. The data never lies. How many of the applications of the people that are actually in the country today are successful? There's close to 80% of the applications that are submitted for asylum are failed. They fail the test. Okay. they're here more than a number of years before that occurs. That's a fact, right? So if you're to come at it from balance, that provides and speaks to a point where there is something wrong in the process, right?
100%.
The second point is Ireland cannot afford this, right? We cannot afford to have an imbalance where there is more citizens in the country that, and by the way, I'm a fan of people coming to country for reasons that are genuine. Okay, I would just want to say that categorically. Right?
I think we all are.
I'm a big advocate of that. And I'm a big advocate to allow them to fucking work and earn a living, because we shouldn't be treating them like lesser citizens where, you know, they come to country and they can't even earn a living, because then what you're doing is you're enticing people to come in that don't want to work.
Yeah.
So they're manipulating the process.
Yes.
So I think that's counterintuitive, right? Okay. And if you look at some of the other countries, Poland, Malta, I know Malta have done it as well, where if somebody comes in, if they get through the process quickly, they can work while their application is pending. Like, that's fantastic. I mean, that's treating people like human beings, right? They have a right to earn a living and have a standard of living. And that will only benefit the economy, because they're adding to the economy, because they're earning money, they're spending money. They're not sitting, you know, in the center caged up where they can't go, they can't earn money. They're being paid money to sit there. They have too much time in their hands, and then that just leads into.
And are they already traumatized from whatever they're coming away from?
Exactly.
Well, but in whose interest is it in not sorting out this problem? That's the question, because we've spoken before about the people who run the IPAS Centre and the amount of money that the government are spending. You know, started off in tens of thousands. You're now has run into the millions that we're giving to people who run the IPAS Centre. So is it in certain people's interest to keep these laws and application processes all loose and groovy?
But Keith, let's just, if we just pick apart, because, you know, I've spoken a lot about this in terms of, okay, there's an injury of a child. I know there was a fire started. That's equally as bad. Child was raped. The person that committed that crime had previous convictions and was to self-deport, right? So if you take that as a data point, and then, you know, okay, maybe some people are kind of desensitized at this stage. But a 10-year-old child, a young girl being raped in Ireland, where that poor child's innocence was taken from her, and rape is a heinous crime in itself. And I'm going to speak to some of the convictions that Judge Nolan has given out in balance to what happened to DJ Carey, right? Where, you know, Waterford Whispers was saying that his legal counsel said, I hope he gets sentenced as if he
was going to ask to be sentenced as a sex offender, because he'd get off.
And I've got some statistics on Judge Nolan that I can speak to, right, clinically, in terms of, you know, how imbalanced it is, right? And, you know, to me, that's the pinnacle. Leave the women and fucking children alone. That's it. When you rape a child, that's it. That should be treated as, you know, the most severe breach. If you're into country that's embraced you and brought you into the country and supported you, and then you go committing an act like that, and then you have to self-deport, and is there something like 16 convictions previous to that, and then ends up with a light heart sentence, right? Yeah. That like, there's only one way that's going to go, guys. That's going to spark huge disdain and hate, and that's what I meant earlier about the religious war, because then that's put up as that's exploded as it's becoming a religious issue, becoming
Catholic against Muslim, yeah. I mean, like I'd find it very hard to disagree with you, and I don't disagree with you, but it's for me, I'm just like, well, like, in whose interest? So let's move on. Sorry, Oscar, we have you sitting there, but do you want to chime in?
So, like, if you
don't disagree with us, by the way,
I'm just going to throw in a history perspective.
You're too new.
Whenever you've got a government that is not doing what the people want it to do, whether it's how you're describing it, where it's potentially not democratic, the easiest thing to do is just to create a common enemy for everybody to hate. At the moment, it would seem that, like, that common enemy may or may not be immigrants, and then I'm not like, on both sides, like, there is, like, any crimes against women and children are absolutely heinous and should be punished to the full extent of the law.
Yeah.
However, any part that applies to this immigrants, any, like, people who are having their houses burned down, those perpetrators should also be punished to the full extent of the law. However, is there a smokescreen? Is there stuff going on behind the background? Is there stuff people don't want us focusing on, etc., etc.?
Yeah, and that's what creates. That's what creates.
Oscar, I have to jump in on that, because I just want to make sure we're balanced on this, right? When you're saying on both sides, What do you mean both sides? Like, give me an example of any of the people that are in care at the moment where it's been reported that one of them has been picked up, collected, and raped by somebody within. Do you get me? Like, it's not happening on both sides. Like, in balance, there is an evident increase in what's called racial attacks,
Mm.
and it is the genesis of that is coming from people that are in the country from a different culture. And if you wanted a dedicated show on this, I can even bring people on that will categorically report upon the amount of unreported attacks that they're encountering as people in the country. Where I've had one incident where this lady has categorically told me every night they go out,
But this is
they're
this
going
is
into
hearsay.
bars and they're being targeted by a group of guys from a certain ethnic background.
Yeah, but this is
in the
hearsay
bars.
as well. I mean, because Irish guys can
No, it's
target women on a night out as well. We all know
No,
that.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
have
We
to
want,
look at-
we I
have to
think
look
that's
at-
how we get into the balance of it.
But we have
what
to
I'm
look
saying-
at the majority of attacks on women and children in Ireland are perpetrated by Irish men.
I'm not also
The majority, like massively, but it happens in
Stand
the home.
over that, though, Keith. Let's get the stats in that.
Oh,
I
I
wanna
will give you
see-
the
let's-
stats. I've given you them before.
Yeah, but
But it happens in the home. Like, we are not, these men are not protesting against what's happening to women. Like, if you look at the stats of femicide and abuse of women in the north of Ireland, like the most dangerous place in the world to live, or in Europe to live for women, and it's not people who have just moved here. Al.
also, I completely agree with what you're saying, where you're going to have people coming in and then who are going out in large groups of men from certain ethnic backgrounds. I think that happens as a result of, like, if you look at those cultures that people come from, they're not cultures that are very respectful of women. And I don't disagree that that's happening. I would also just want to raise that the reason that you are unlikely to find any immigrants speaking about where they've been attacked or they've been assaulted is because of how underreported it is anyway, even among native people. And then when you have an immigrant, you already have that label over you. You don't want another label of the fact that you're a victim. So I'm speaking to hoping to speak to a charity next week to try and get a better background on the type of presentations. But you're also having these people who come into the country, don't know the systems, don't know who they would even report to. So I think it's like, are immigrants possibly assaulting women?
Yes,
Possibly,
yes,
allegedly.
they are. Yes, we can say categorically they are. Absolutely,
Yeah, you have seen that, but are you having people who aren't reporting because they don't know how to? They don't have the systems in place.
Yes, we are. All of these things are true. All of these things are true. And I, like, for me, I'm like, anybody that breaks.
So Keith, but Keith, I've just achieved my goal, right? I played the devil's advocate. So what I've done here is a test case, right? So when we're trying to trigger what's wrong, so now you've got it. We're in the information matrix. So confirming my point, this is the garbage that the other side are being fed, and I just successfully did it, right?
But who are the other side?
Right. This is what I'm saying. There's no in the middle anymore. It's sides.
But who are the other side?
So the guys that are going in attacking these IPA centres are going in blindly because they're being convinced that Ireland is now in a state of vacuum. These guys are a huge threat to your men, women, and children, right?
Yes.
So they're attacking on that side.
Yeah.
But in reality, the mainstream media is creating a narrative. We both know that in Ireland, for a long time, long before this became even an issue,
yes,
women did not get a voice from domestic violence and attacks by fucking Irish guys.
Exactly.
So I just succeeded in my point. This is the information matrix again, right? Whereas if we can start educating guys, like, guys, would you fucking listen? Irish women will tell you categorically themselves that the biggest threat is in their own fucking homes.
Yes.
Right? So I think the onus is on us as an independent fucking journalist outfit, right?
Okay.
To start highlighting the fact that this is bullshit.
Yes.
Right? So the mainstream media are they're exaggerating this to say, right, here and where does it lead to? Hate.
Yes.
Right?
Ultimately.
Okay. We both know Ireland's history, guys. Like it's not a fucking secret that, you know, Ireland got destroyed by, you know, the Catholic Church, by fucking Christian brothers, like, you know, long before there was any IPAS centres in Ireland, right? That's the reality. We know that domestic violence in Ireland has been a big problem for a long time.
Yeah, and crimes against children. If we go back to Miriam's story with the nuns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've had people on. So my point is that the only way that we have a hope of getting out of this is to start addressing the core underlying issues, which is for every person that's coming in, there's somebody taking advantage of that. And if we just unpack it for a second, so economically, right?
100%.
There's people at the top of the pyramid making a lot of money from the centers. Reality. 1 point.
100%.
Second point, trafficking, which we covered last time, is off the chart.
Yes.
Right? So in this process, we've got all this noise here. Let's focus on the men. Let's focus on the assaults. Let's focus on the safety. Underneath, women and children are under threat from both sides.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Right? 100%, Al. Like, I'm so glad we got to this point, because I think we're singing off the same hymn sheet. And ultimately, women and children are vulnerable in this country. I don't care where you're from. You should feel the full force of the law if you
exactly. So what I'm orchestrating here, Keith, is that they've done a fantastic job at separating us, saying you're either left or right. But the reality is, we're losing grasp of the humanity of get rid of the hate. You're entitled to your political views. I'll still sit down and have a fucking beer, a non-alcoholic beer, fucking tea with you, and have a laugh, right? Because we're colleagues and mates, right?
Yes.
And I don't care about your political views, and we'll debate it here. But
important.
in reality, these guys are fucking winning. Because if you sit down in a bar, and I've done this, right? I've sat in a bar silently myself, having a coffee, and you can sit down. If you were there for an hour, you'll hear political views raised at some point. And there's no one in the middle anymore.
Yes. But we're trying to find a middle ground here, I believe. Like
my opinion here is quite binary in terms of we have to break out the economic underlying issue that's occurring here, which is there is people making a lot of money from anarchy.
Yes.
Right. Yep. And this is the disguise for that. The second part is it's actually tearing a country apart. And we're not the only country that's gone through this. The UK has gone through it. And it's, stampede after stampede. There's a march every other week now, right? On both sides. I'm marching for that. I'm marching for this. We're marching for that. I'm like, okay, guys, like, what's the real issue here? You've got the politicians at the top that are doing absolutely nothing about it.
Because they don't need, because it suits them. It's serving the purpose. Like we're paying our teachers, our nurses, our Gardaí, we're paying them less and less and less. Like we've less Gardaí on the streets. We've less, like we're not, it suits. I want to get to the bottom of this economic reasons that Ireland is the way it is. And I think we're getting there because of all this, like all of these stories that we're bringing through MOTH. Are, for me, seem to be coming together. Who's running the IPAS centres? Who's making money? Where's that money going? Why are we not allowing Indigenous companies
exactly
to
flourish? So I think the task for us is
talk about the DJ Carey case as well, and Judge Nolan.
Let's get into that in a second, and that's exploitation at another level, right? But I think just as, and I'll leave the final note to you guys because you're far more articulate than I, right, on this. But I think one of our missions should be, we should change the narrative of this to the exploitation plan.
Yes.
It's exploitation of both sides, of everybody.
Yes.
There is no sides here. There's a pyramid. Because at the top of this pyramid, guys, there is a certain percent of people making a shitload of money from this anarchy. And that's the reality.
Yes. And I agree with you 157%, if that is. How many percent do you let have? 1,000%. All of the percent. I totally agree. I feel like we've really sort of reached a place here that we probably all of us want to be in. And I think if we can focus on those who are harvesting money from this country so you've got the chaos down here and up here, they're just counting their money. Who are these people? And let's expose them.
I think that's the way to go. And it's going to open up people's minds to it's not about the people that are in the conflict. It's they're puppeteers.
They're pawns.
They're just the puppets in them. That's it.
And
there's one target here. There's the fucking financial target, and the women and children are cutting them. I'm not saying that the men are not somehow.
But to a greater extent, it's women and children who will suffer.
Women and children.
They always have.
100%. They're unsafe. They're being targeted. They're being exploited. It's being manipulated, and and it's like open borders to move it around because it's an anarchy. That's it.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
like it's it's grotesque, man.
Yeah. Can I just move on?
Excuse me.
I thought it was really good. Enjoyed that. So this is
Me too, man. Me
this
too,
is
man.
Waterford Whispers story, which is Waterford Whispers. You don't know is a humorous satiric
Competitor? It's a competitor, Keith.
a competitor. Well, first of all, they're much funnier, and also they probably get hit.
Oh shit! I thought we were getting funny. Yeah.
We're getting funny. We've a bit to go. But this water, it's like The Onion.
The Onion,
Reference,
okay.
yeah. So it's Irish, The Onion. So this is DJ Carey, and I need to remove these things here because they're in the way. Carey defense asked Judge Nolan to treat him as sex offender while sentencing, and the reason for that, Al, I know you can speak to this.
I'll give you examples here, and I'll defer to my. I'm embarrassingly using an AI bot to get the objective and unbiased data.
What do you
Right? So I'll
embarrass
read it. I'll read it. I'm joking, right? I didn't do the extensive research that you guys do.
I do my extensive
I
research.
cheated.
Kincaid failed legal using AI.
I drink my own champagne. So Judge Nolan has attracted particular controversy for perceived leniency in cases involving child abuse and material, and there has been even as far as a petition to remove him. Okay, so this is factual. Okay, so a man found with 3,910 images and 376 movie files of child sex abuse received a 3-year sentence, suspended in full, with Judge Nolan noting very good mitigation.
No,
Okay.
that we should be in jail.
Suspended sentence for man found with 10,000
10,000. How do you
child
even
abuse images respectfully. This is this quote, right? Respectfully. Okay. Right. 10,000. Right. A civil servant found with 60,000 images and videos received a fully suspended sentence, with Nolan stating he had been punished enough with the shame he brought on his family.
That's not how.
Okay. A music teacher named Peter Jennings. I'm not sure, and also I'm not sure why they didn't name the civil servant, right? Okay, I couldn't find a name. Music teacher Peter Jennings received a fully suspended sentence after being charged with 1,300 unique child abuse images and 11 live videos. Okay. Judge Nolan imposed a 4-year suspended sentence on Graham Griffiths for sexually assaulting a 17-year-old girl on condition he pay $15,000 to his victim within a year, which was described as appalling by the Children at Risk in Ireland agency. The agency noted this is the second time in recent months that an Irish judge has put a price on a sexual crime. Nolan also gave a man who was sexually assaulted an 18-year-old a 4-year suspended sentence on condition that he paid $15,000 a victim. So he's done it twice, right? Okay, guys, that's a rap sheet. I can tell you now. I put this into AI to drill down into it, right? There is the length of my two screens of other cases here. Okay, right? There's another one of his approach. So he defended it, right, by indicating his rationale for non-custodial sentences is in the absence of aggravating factors on previous victims. Was his theory for not giving for custodial sentences, that he didn't see that as aggravated enough.
Right.
And yet we have DJ Carey, who none of us are here to defend. We're not saying that DJ Carey shouldn't go away for 5 years, but we're just saying the irony, not the irony.
Keith, can I give you one more, because this was a very public case, right?
We're not
on contrast. This is a reference. On contrast, Nolan has been documented for handing, right, a 6-year term to food importer Paul Begley for not paying income tax on garlic.
Oh no!
Right. Let's put this in context now, right?
Yeah.
He fucked, and by the way, this guy was able to prove that he fucked it up, right? That this wasn't intentional. Okay, he came clean and said, "Fuck, they miscalculated."
Yeah.
So he gets a 6-year sentence for 1.6 million on tax because he didn't pay his tax, and he said it's his public duty to sentence a guy who didn't pay his tax.
Is Nolan a vampire?
Like, okay, so
We don't think he's a vampire. Is he? Is Judge Nolan a vampire? Does he hate? Was there any cases of that?
well, I'd say if we took it at its height, he clearly has a bias to
Anyone importing silver bullets, wooden stakes, get big, heavy sentences.
So what message is he sending? Let's be very clinical about this.
Well, but in his opinion,
Carey, because he fucked up a billionaire, Dennis
Money.
O'Brien, categorically of 300,000, he gets fucking sentenced, custodial sentence. A guy that fucked up tax on garlic gets a sentence, and guys that are abusing kids, with
women and
live
children,
videos,
yeah.
and women and children get to spend.
So what's the message?
Correct. I'll let you guys comment on that.
No, we don't even have to. I don't think we even have to. I mean, I think any of the viewers can just, it's clear. It's very clear, and that's Ireland.
I would like you guys to admit, though, that you see it as an issue here with his leniency.
Yes. I mean, I don't even think that's. I think there was a miscommunication in that we're like, there's a huge problem with protecting women and children in this country, but like, let's look at it on the whole, which I think we're all in agreement. Like I don't care where you're coming from. I don't care how long you live here. Like that is for a judge, an integral part of our judicial system in this country to be saying you don't have to go to jail even though you've raped a child or you've got child pornography or you've got whatever, thousands and thousands of like these, like where do they think these images come from, And for him to then to favor, somebody who's been ripped off, it's like it just puts into perspective where we place women and children and the safety of women and children in this country, regardless of the perpetrators and where they're from. They should all feel the full force of the law.
Definitely. And especially when you consider out of 100 survivors, only about 7 will report their case. And out of all those 7, only 1 will see their case reach trial. And if they're seeing that case reach trial and they have a judge like that, it really doesn't make you question why people have no faith in this in the law system at the moment.
Oscar, that's a very valid point, because then if you remember my comment earlier from the frustration of people, it's like that's an isolated case that was blown up into causing huge distress and dismay, and then you could imagine underneath the amount of people that feel completely frustrated, they won't even bother coming forward.
Yes,
right? And that's against, as you correctly say, Keith, the Irish, like that, they're Irish guys, right? This is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Like all the examples I read out were Irish guys within the country.
Yeah.
Right? One's an Irish civil servant.
I really want to play this clip and then we'll go. But I know Al, you had sent it in. I think it's really important because I think it kind of, if we're talking about sides and there's another side and we're on this side and we're on this is just an opinion from a person that maybe I wouldn't be on the same side as, but it's not important anymore. What's important is, what he's saying, and that I don't know if, this is a problem. I couldn't play the audio of this before. That was the issue the last time. Let me just see if I can share this. And if not, I'll just give you an example and a sort of an idea of what he's saying. Yeah, so this is so you can see the can you see the subtitles even?
You can see the subtitles, Keith.
Yeah. So basically what he's talking about is he's talking about he was talking about City West. This is a while ago, and I suppose it's like what we were talking about in Drogheda as well. But also he's talking about this child that was taken from care. There's 30,000 children missing since the start of the year, according to TUSLA. There's one poor child. The High Court put her into care. She was from Nigeria. She was trafficked here. She was put into care on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. She was taken out of that care home. That as soon as she put her in the care home, she was taken out that afternoon. She was found 4 years later in a locked room in a brothel. They weren't even looking for her. They were looking for something else. And there she was 4 years later. She'd gone missing, put in a care home, went missing that same day. And 4 years later, this Nigerian child she'd been taken from her parents. Tusla put her into care. She was taken from care. They found her 4 years later, not even looking for her, in a brothel in a locked room. And this is the point. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. Children, and we might include women in this, are not safe in this country. That's it. And we have to drill down into why
and even globally,
why is that important to people, and why is that helpful to people? Sorry, Al.
Even globally, dude, I saw. I'll share the statistics on it because I looked into it after Oscar's report last week. So I think, look, I'll give you an example. Something like 279,000 plus in Italy, unreported missing, 450,000 in the US, close to 300,000 in the UK. Ireland per capita is close to 5,000, like just missing. That's it.
Just missing.
Just missing. Yeah. And Germany, France. I can go on and on. I'll send on the footage to Oscar in terms of reports.
We maybe follow up on that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, guys, that was a very good show. And for me, like, it's almost made me think about restructuring this whole show. When we would talk about it off air, but it's, you know, it's good to show the workings behind the scenes, because I found this conversation much more beneficial than maybe a traditional news platform structure of news item. Because I think what we got here was resolution. I think what we got here, we found a common ground. I think what we found out, we're probably all on the same side. And I think it's much more beneficial maybe to look at things that are going on and discuss them, the three of us, and maybe Oscar, you as our journalist, coming with us, bringing us the facts, bringing us the stories that we can discuss, and we can try and get to the bottom of it, and we can take on, you know, certain cases, and we can, you know, find out who's behind them, and we can name and shame and all that kind of stuff. But I think I just felt there's been a shift here.
I think I'm quite happy to do some research. Yeah, we can talk about this off air probably.
I hope you're happy to do some research.
I do the research anyway.
Young people these days.
Amazing. Cool.
I lock you up in a room for 4 years.
Oscar, that's very funny. Keith, that's very funny, man. You're going to take him upstairs and. Keith, I agree. Actually, it's transcending. It's kind of a waterfall moment for us in terms of we've come to the line in the sand. I think I think there's an opportunity where we can start speaking to people who are just getting blinded by hate, right? It's like, you know, and nothing good comes of that.
No.
Right? At all. And it's distracting from the point of there's people are economically benefiting from exploitation and hate.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You know, it's kind of like, you know, what I described it actually recently, and maybe this is an anecdotal story as a father, right? And I was trying to explain to somebody recently, I used the analogy of, you know, Monsters, Inc.?
Yes.
Right? And they were saying, you know, when the guy was going into the bedrooms and he was, you know, frightening the kid, and the tank, the energy tank filled from fear. I said, that's the planet right now. And the guy was like, fucking hell, man. Like, that's, he was like, Jesus, that's deep. You know, he's like, I actually get that point. I'm like, you think of people sitting behind in the corporate engine, and the more fear that's generated, it's topping up their tanks, because they're able, like, that's the best I could think in terms of articulation. Say, look, just think of that, man. That's what's happening. So
the solution is to be a part of a solution and not feeding the fear. Not, do you know what I mean? It's something. There's been a switch. Something in my head has switched. A light bulb? What do you call it?
I mean, there is a whole...
I don't. My brain doesn't work.
Road to Damascus moment, maybe.
A light switch. There's a light switch moment.
There is a whole school of journalism called solutions journalism.
Solutions journalism. I love it.
There we go.
We're solution journalists.
I guess in the Monsters Inc. Who are we? I guess will I fall into the Sully or where do I say it?
Oh, who's the big blue guy?
Sully. Thanks for that, Keith.
Only because I
am Harry.
There's the character. Which one do you want to be?
I'm the little girl. Boo.
You're Boo.
Oh,
okay.
Jesus Christ. I thought you were going to pick the guy who what's the guy doing one eye? Is that
Mike,
you, Oscar?
Mike Wazowski.
Oh,
there
was
was a great trend on TikTok where there was American kids talking to their dads and saying, "Hey, Dad, I met a Mike Wazowski today. He said he went to college with you." And the dads are going, "Mike Wazowski? Mike Wazowski? Oh my God, Mike Wazowski!" There's a black, like, didn't have a clue who they were talking about, but like, dads, Irish dads, American dads, they're all the same. Had to pretend they knew Mike Wazowski. It was only revealed later it was the guy from Monsters Inc. Very funny. Who are you going to be then, Oscar? Roz, yeah, I got it. Yeah,
sure.
the big green lady with the horn rimmed glasses. Nah.
I click Oscar. Get over here.
Like a decade.
If only it was Halloween, we could have actually got the costumes. Actually, Oscar, on a lighter note, how did you get out your Halo costume? Was it?
It was great. I just couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Like so blind, but good night out, I think.
Brilliant. I was Darth Vader in the end.
It's a lesson there. If you never wear a costume where you can't see out of.
Yeah, I just couldn't see what's going on. It was great fun. I lost my beard somewhere in there as well.
Your actual beard?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got cleaned up. Yeah.
We were going to do Movember.
I thought he was looking a lot more professional.
Anyway.
So you can be Randall Boggs.
I would prefer to be the Abominable Snowman.
Okay, you're Abominable. He's not main character though.
And?
We want you to be a movie. We're 3 main characters here, dude. Come on.
Okay. Come on, man. You're researching. Seriously. Monsters Inc. We'll have a pop quiz next week.
Mothsters Inc. Boom. Mic drop.
And on that bombshell.
Rebrand. Contact the social.
All right, stuck to the stand.
Right, dudes.
Thanks, Al. Have a good day. We'll chat.
Thank you so much. That was spectacular. All right.
Very useful conversation. Really appreciate
it.
Take it easy, man. Good luck. Bye. You see, sometimes you just gotta trash it out. I think that was really helpful. Oscar, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine.
Yes.
Yourself?
I felt like I was worried for you because I thought you might be sitting there going, "Oh, mommy and daddy, stop fighting."
No. Dude, you should have seen my house growing up. This is nothing.
Mommy and daddy, stop trying to come to a resolution.
As long as you're not throwing toasters at each other, it's fine.
I'm bringing a toaster next week for sure. Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, you can watch that our Hunger Striker. They're 48 days, be 49 days tomorrow on Hunger Strike, trying to get the things that we as a country owe them, a medical card and a pension for the work they did for the state. So they're outside the Dáil. If you're in the area, go and shake their hands and tweet about it, talk about it, tell your friends about it. These people need to get justice. And if you want to watch the full interview with Miriam Moriarty Owens, who was in industrial school with the Sisters of Mercy, who were the Sisters of absolute no mercy, Sisters of Evil, the way she was treated. You can watch that on our MOTH News YouTube channel, which is all caps, MOTH_news. Anything you want to remind people of? Or is that it? You done?
No, check out our articles as well. I write them, please.
Articles on the website?
Yeah, articles are on our website.
MOTHnews.com.
Yeah.
He writes them.
I write them.
By the way, you mentioned he writes them.
Yeah.
He didn't write one. He couldn't write one last time because he had his helmet on.
No.
He couldn't see. Did you still write one?
Yeah, about Halloween.
Right, good luck. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and tell your friends that this is the greatest thing you've ever seen, that they should also watch. Right, good luck.